All my life, I've always tried to find some joy in doing or making something that really feels like it's coming from inside of me. And so the form of that has often been through the arts.
How can you feel that something come from inside of you?
It's visceral. It feels like an emotional seed, but as a thinking being and a halfway intelligent being, it has to make complete sense. And then when it's out in the world, it feels fully realized. It's that completion. And it really does feel like it's coming from inside of me and coming out into the world.
It's really what you felt inside when it's outside in the world.
Well, that's the interesting thing because there is a resistance. It can be material, it can be a change in my interior life. And so I have an initial, I'd say, inside interior event that motivates making something. But I think the challenge and the joy of being an artist is to play with how things are not what I thought they might be.
How did you come to sculpture?
It came originally from dance. As a very young toddler, very young child, apparently I used to choreograph things in the backyard all the time to the delight of my neighboring mothers who were watching outside through their windows. And then I studied music for a long time, and formally I went to conservatory for classical music, and then realized that that wasn't my métier either.
Which instrument did you play?
A piano, primarily, yeah. So I was trained, and I took joy in being an interpreter of other people's work. But it wasn't enough for me. And I probably realized it around 17, 18 years old, but started conservatory. And then I went through a great deal of struggle about how to reinvent myself. I guess I always knew that I was good in visual art, but I was explicitly told by my mother not to be a visual artist. Very explicitly, which shocked me because it was in the middle of a conversation. It was completely out of context.
What was the reason?
I don't know. I think we were discussing a print that a friend had given to me, and this was in high school or middle school. Perhaps she recognized how in love I was with this whole world of visual art, and it terrified her because for her, as a parent, as someone who wanted her child, she's an immigrant from China, she wanted her daughter to be successful, whatever she thought that meant. It was a scary proposition to lead an artist's life, which, I mean, it's a struggle. Everyone knows that. So I think it terrified her, and she just blurted it out in the middle of this innocuous conversation about my friend's print. And I was so taken aback. It was deeply etched in my memory. So what happened was that when I was in conservatory, and then college, she passed away, and I was devastated, and I needed to find a way to, I think I was very depressed. I wouldn't say I was trying to be positive. I think I was just trying to survive. And I knew that the only reason for me to be was to actually be a visual artist. So that was the conversion.
Why sculpture?
For me, it's the most spiritual of the visual arts. It's this irony of being the most physically real, concrete. It could be just a piece of junk, trash, right? But if you can convert it into something that has spiritual meaning and essence, it's like magic. And I guess I knew that potential and I was capable of it and I recognized that and I wanted more of that and I just wanted to keep trying to achieve that.
How do you make this magic?
How do I make it? It has to resonate with me and it has to do with sitting with it quietly at various points in the making and seeing if it's really doing what it should do. Whether it's really singing, whether it's really speaking to something that is abstract and spiritual and intangible. And if it's not, then, just throw it out.
How did you choose the material you work with?
I think it has to do with recognizing what a material is capable of. And that has to do with playing. A lot of it's playing. And I like to use very simple materials, often very classical materials, whether it's clay or paper rendered into sculpture or wire screening. Nothing fancy, just sort of to elicit what that material is capable of. It's trial and error, lots of playing.
What do you need to start creating a piece?
Not very much. No, it's mainly me. I mean, they're the materials, but then...
It's mainly you. Yeah. Tell me why.
Why? Because, I love this question, and it's hard. Because it's coming from me. It's like giving birth. What do I need? I need quiet. I need the illusion of stability in that moment, enough so that I can really relax. And the rest is just a desire to express what needs to come forth. I don't need a lot.
When you say it's about me, is creation a conversation between you and yourself?
In the making, yes, it is a conversation with myself. And I am the editor, the creator, the audience, the executor, the publisher, all of those things. But actually, it is to communicate. Yes. I love it when people get it or question it or respond to it in some way, of course. That completes the circle. I'm not a self-enclosed system, but when I'm making things, I am not in need of an audience to tell me really anything.
What do you expect from the audience about your pieces?
What gives me real pleasure is when someone is moved internally, almost in a parallel fashion to how I started the whole process.
What do you mean?
In other words, if someone is moved, then I feel like they are partially going through the process of what I experienced in making the piece. And that is really, really exciting to me. I feel very close to music as a listener. I feel very close to poetry as a reader. And they satisfy certain parts of our being that can only be expressed in those particular ways. And I feel like sculpture is capable of doing that. a transcending of materials into something unnameable.
Why silence is so important for you?
It's like a white piece of paper. It's like a space that you can fill. The only time I can listen to music in the studio is if I'm doing something very boring, because otherwise I start thinking about the composition, I start reacting emotionally, and I start going into a place that has nothing to do with my work.
There's something monumental in your piece. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I am okay with that. That's how I feel. Scale, size, really is really fascinating. I don't know why my tendency is to speak about the monumental, especially raising the scale to eye level. So it forces the viewer to almost act like an incredibly large giant roving, among the landscape. I'm having fun with that. Yes.
What kind of experience are you looking for yourself when you're at work?
I particularly love it when something goes wrong and then I use it and it develops into something totally unexpected. That is a successful studio, period. Because then it's moving me into areas that I can't control and I have not imagined. So it's a lot about playing and improvising. It's improvisatory. I don't know how to describe this. I think this is what I like. Again, this is why I left music, because I am an originator, but then as an improviser, it's a little bit off a track. I don't like to be on a track. I get very bored quite easily.
How do you know that a piece you're working on is finished?
I let a piece sit and then I revisit it before I make that decision. And the criteria is that it has to consistently be open-ended and almost like, I don't remember making you. Where did you come from? And when that happens, then yeah, okay, all right, this is your life. I'm on to something else. That's when it's finished. That's when it's good and finished. If I can sort of remember everything about you as a piece, I think I sort of got bored. Something didn't happen there. I know when a piece is better than another. It's when it surprises me.
Is there a continuity between your different pieces, between your different works?
Yes. Because the vocabulary is largely, it has been continually a nature-driven vocabulary, and that my ongoing questions have always had to do with life and death issues. I think the process of my working has been very consistent. I think you can tell that the same person made my pieces. I don't know, but that's my opinion.
Ideally, what kind of experience do you want to offer to the viewers of your works?
Ideally, I want them to be moved to dive deeply into some personal parallel experience of their own, and that the forms, the beauty and ugliness, the whatever it might be that initiate that they experience something very personal, unnameable again. That interests me.
I'm gonna leave the room. Please keep the microphone and add whatever you want to the interview.
So much of my sculpture is about touching, and it's very touch sensitive in the making. It invites people to want to touch more than a lot of other work. I love that. It's very intimate, very personal. Hopefully, it initiates a conversation in the person who is holding that object that is profound. That would be my best hope. And Philippe, you are quite amazing. It's a pleasure to speak with you.